with American Songwriter, we had the opportunity to talk to Madison Olds.
Adam was able to talk to Madison over Zoom audio. Madison is a bubbly young pop artist making waves in Canada and in the global scene. Check out her new track, Best Part of Me. It's awesome.
Make sure to check out our YouTube channel and Facebook page at Bringing It Backwards and follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BringingBackPod.
We'd appreciate your support if you follow and subscribe to our podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts.
We're Bringing It Backwards with Madison Olds.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's good, thanks. How about yourself?
I am great. Thanks for doing this.
Oh my gosh, no, thank you. I'm so excited about this.
Very cool. Our podcast is about your journey in the music industry and how you got to where you are today.
Oh my gosh. Okay, fun.
You're from Canada, right?
I am, yeah. I'm on the West Coast, so I grew up just about 3 hours outside of Vancouver, right in the middle of nowhere, I guess you could say. Not a huge music scene when I started out. So I actually was a competitive dancer for about 16 years.
Oh, wow.
I was like, if I'm going to be in the spotlight, I got to figure out a freaking way in the interior BC. And I just became such a ham. Like, I was the kid when my parents would have friends over and I'd throw on my tap shoes and I'd pull out my Barbie doll, like, bin lid, and I'd tap in the kitchen for friends that would come over.
Put on a show.
Just embarrassing. Oh yeah, I would put on like old costumes. I'd have routine changes and makeup changes, and I was like 7 doing it all myself. And my parents were like, "We're sorry, our child's a menace."
Oh, how funny!
But yeah, so it started there, and then kind of at around 10, I got into musical theater, and I was like, whoa, this singing thing is like pretty fun. And my dad had studied at Berkeley.
Oh, really?
When he was, he studied jazz composition and opera. So he was like, superstar way before I even tried to become a musician. And that's how my parents met. He was singing in interior Canada and was running like karaoke after he was like just trying to make ends meet. And he comes up to my mom and he goes like, "Hey, I could teach you how to sing if you want. I'm an opera singer." She's like, "Actually, I know how to sing. Thanks." And so like growing up, we had a lot of music in the house. My brother plays drums, and to this day, we still tour as a family. We went to Singapore, did a little Asian tour, just the 3 of us. But I picked up a guitar.
Your dad, and your brother?
Yeah, me, my dad, and my brother, and then my momager would come along with her little phone. And
my momager.
Oh yeah, I'm sure too many musicians have them and don't care to admit to it, but I'm proud to have a momager.
That's amazing.
But yeah, so I kind of hung up my dancing shoes and picked up a guitar at around like 14, and I was like, "Watch out, T-Swizzle, I'm coming for you." And that was, how it all started. And then I formed up a band by accident. We were like 18 and really drunk one night. I didn't even know one of the other girls. And I was like, let's become like the next Dixie Chicks. And none of us really were country people or, listen to country or anything like that. And then, we just started to write some country music. So it kind of took off, and then the band fell apart, and I was already in it for too long. We had gone back and forth to Nashville about like 5 or 6 times writing.
So the band was, you guys were doing it. Yeah, you guys were taking it really seriously then. Okay. And
we entered this contest, and we didn't expect to win, but we had like 700,000 votes in like 2 weeks, and the whole country was hearing about us. And we're like,
wait, tell me about this story. This is crazy.
It was the night before this contest closed with Chevrolet Canada and CMC.
How'd you find out about
music.
how'd you find out about it's just like a big thing that happens every year?
No, it was the second year it had happened. My grandmother, when I tell you my grandmother's like a super fan, like she's got like 2 devices constantly, like either watching my YouTube videos or like streaming my music or like listening to my TikToks or stuff. Like she's on it She sells my merchandise. She line dances to my music. Like, she is the ultimate super fan. But she texts me and she goes, "Oh my God, honey, you need to do this." And I was like, "Well, Grandma, I don't really play a lot of country music." And so the night before this contest closed, and you needed 2 weeks before to do, it was like an online voting thing. And I was like, "There's no way we're gonna win this." And I had just met the one girl that night. We wrote this song called Mad Love, and we're giddy on pina coladas. My brother was is a videographer, so he videotaped us. We sent in this video. We had like 15 votes. Some of the other people had like upwards of 1,000 votes. And we're like, yeah, there's no way we're going to make it to go play a live show at a country festival. And then we get a phone call the next morning from the production team, and they said, "Hey, you guys didn't get enough votes, but we frickin' love you. Can you come?" And so we go and we do this Oh yeah. And again, I didn't even know this other girl's second or middle name or last name. I couldn't even tell you how old she was when we did this video. And we're like, yeah, we're going to go on tour with Carrie Underwood. We're dreaming big and we don't know each other. And none of us are country, writers. It wasn't our dream. It was just, we were having fun. And that was the whole point, right? If you're not enjoying it, don't do it. But we were having so much fun. And we get all gussied up in cowboy boots and dresses and hats. And we go to this festival and we play this song and won over the hearts of the festival, which was so much fun. And then it ended up being an online voting thing across Canada. There was 750,000 votes. It was ridiculous. We were just around the clock, hanging out with friends and family, and people were just promoting the crap out of us across Canada. Then we went to Nashville and we worked with Lennon Stella's dad, and that was amazing because obviously Lennon and Maisie growing up were huge influences to how we sounded as a all-girl trio. And then it was at that, before this had happened, I was busking in the streets. I'd do little concerts when a band would come in town, but I was never thinking, oh wow, a small town girl can really make it or do anything with it. And then I got to Nashville and we got into some amazing writing sessions with the Pistol Annies. And I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. I don't picture myself doing anything other than songwriting and singing and performing. And it was a ball. We had a great time. Chevrolet Canada posted all of our music, and CMT had us as a bonus track. And we're literally these nobody girls. We've got 300 followers on Instagram, and we're played after Miranda Lambert on country music television.
That's so
it was ridiculous. We all went over to one of the girls' houses that was in the band, and we're in our pajamas and we're screaming at ourselves on the television because they put together a music video for us as well. They secretly did it while we were on this trip to Nashville because they had a team of film video people come down with us to document everything. And it was really a magical experience. And the saddest part is that we were the kind of the year before it was their first year doing it, and they didn't do what they did with us. And we were the last year that they did it. And it was just I feel so lucky that we got to do that because it was the door to my career, really. But, we didn't know each other and there wasn't a huge band infrastructure, so it did kind of fall apart and we all went our separate ways. But I had a taste for it and I was not about to stop fighting for it. And,
Wow. So you were just taking trips with the band down to Nashville and writing. And then once the band dispersed, were you still going down there by yourself at this point now?
Yeah, I went down a few times. I lived down there for about 2 months, almost a year and a half ago, and that was crazy. I just love the Nashville scene. When I say it's the epitome of humble musicians, it is the epitome of humble musicians. They are just so hardworking and banger after banger. I can't even say they are the people that they don't talk the talk, but man, do they walk the walk.
Sure.
They'll come into a room and they'll be we'll write a song, but who knows what'll happen. It's holy shit, this is amazing.
Yeah.
But no, it was, I fell in love with it, and it kind of gave me my my legs, and I learned a lot, like looking back at who I was as a songwriter at like 17 and what I am now at 22. I feel comfortable enough to go into a writing session and be like, hey, like I have an idea, and I'm not going to like sit in the corner quietly and be like, okay, never mind. Like hey, let's do this. Let's have fun. And it definitely helped me get my confidence that I probably wouldn't have had if not being able to go down there, because they were just so nice and they're so welcoming, and no idea is a bad idea. And I think that it was just like the most crucial songwriter breeding ground that I could have gone through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, totally. And then what was the first, like, so the band's isn't going anymore, and you're going down to Nashville.
Yeah.
When did you decide to just start your own solo thing?
Basically, like, I kind of saw the band falling apart. One of our members actually left a year before. So we went from a trio to a duo for about a year. And then my one bandmate kind of was focusing on some other musical projects. Her boyfriend at the time was a musician, and they kind of started a band. And I was like, looking back, I'm sure it was too like hyper competitive. I'm like, we're doing it, and we're going to be superstars, and I need your undivided attention. Like, way too much of a spaz, I'm sure. But I just kind of saw it going down, and I was like, hey, Mom, what's my plan B? And my momager comes in like a freaking mother bear. She's like, an album.
We're doing an album.
Yeah, we're doing an album. And I ended up doing, actually, it was the BC Winter Games in Canada. I got asked to do this song, and it's almost at, I think, like 1 million streams, which is pretty low for, Justin Bieber's of the world. But for an indie artist, it feels like a pretty big accomplishment. And it
That's
got
massive.
licensed. It is massive. It got asked in the final hour, it got cut, but it was licensed for The Bachelor, and I've had a lot of interest in it for like Sync, just because it is about that feel good, hanging out in the mountains and that hippy dippy West Coast lifestyle, and so it just was really feel good. But then I scrambled. I was like, oh my gosh, I have a crap ton of country songs and like nothing pop, and I realized very quickly that when it was just me without another girl's harmonies, I was like, yes, sister, you are pop. Like, there's no questioning it. And I just kind of started to write my butt off, and I picked up like 6 or 7 songs that I was really excited about, and decided that the person that I identified with the most at the time was Ed Sheeran. And the little lady balls that I have, I reached out to the producer that did it, and I was like, what's your idea on producing the next Canadian Ed Sheeran? And he's like, I like your confidence. And so that's where I did my EP Blue, or my album Blue, I guess. I did it at Sticky Studios. Yeah, which is where Ed Sheeran did his first like 3 or 4 albums, and it was so amazing. And now I'm here. I'm releasing some like totally different stuff, not the acoustic-y pop stuff I was going for. It's pretty like alternative pop, and it's all with a guy in Vancouver, and which is great, because I think there's a lot of really talented musicians and producers in Canada that don't always get the recognition that they deserve, and so I love to keep it local and support the Canadian industry. And like, we're super freaking lucky to have grants and government funding for it, because I think a lot of the American artists don't get a lot of support at all, and so
right. That's interesting that you just brought that up. I just had an interview with somebody, a band out of New Zealand, that said that they have the similar thing. And that was my example. I said, yeah, the States don't have that. I said, the only other place I've heard of, the country giving grants and money for art is Canada. So that's cool that to take part of that.
We're so lucky. And I think it's because, like, you guys poach, like, all of our great artists. You get, like,
and actors and
yeah, right? Like, they're all like, hey, I'm done with this freaking cold weather. I'm going somewhere nice. And obviously, like, your guys' industry is so much bigger, like, just based strictly on population. And so I get the desire to be like, oh, I'm going to go down to LA or New York or, bigger hubs. But I think it's a tactic for Canada to be like, hey, maybe if we pay you more, you'll want to stay.
Yeah, that's cool though.
But,
I mean, to be able to support what you want to do, you know, not a lot of places will.
It's and like recording a song is not cheap, and most musicians are working like around the clock doing day jobs and then hustling at night and helping other musicians. Like a lot of people I know play in like 4 or 5 other bands just to make ends meet as like a studio or like session musician. And so it is crazy, and it's hella expensive to live like in BC or Toronto. I was just in Toronto for the last year, and it's so expensive to make it as a musician in those bigger cities. So it's nice to have a little bit of like provincial or government funding for albums, or you know, they even help with shows, concerts. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we don't do anything like that here.
No, but I mean, like, you guys have a lot of really great musicians that probably don't need government funding, so
yeah, we'll see.
But
so Monuments in the Mountains, that's Moments in the Mountains is the first song that you put out, and that song blows up. And what, did you write it for? You were saying that it was for the
BC, the BC Winter Games. So it's kind of just like our provincial, like, you know, kind of sporting events.
Sure. Did you write the song specifically for the BC Winter Games?
It's funny that you say that, because I actually had a friend, one of my parents' family friends growing up. She ended up being the vice president of the games that year. And I was 16, I think, at the time, and just really getting into playing music. I had gone to my grandmother's for the week and was doing all these little house concerts for her friends, making my little dimes that I can.
Sure.
And I get a phone call, and she goes, hey, I have this opportunity. We need a theme song written, and I know you're starting your music career. Would you like a leg up? And I'm like me? Little old me? Are you sure? And I kind of put it off for like 2 years just because musicians, you know. And I was like, there's no way that I have the qualifications to write like a sporting event theme song. I don't even know how to write a breakup song. I've never loved. How do I write a good song if I've never loved? And I actually, at the time, my best friend and I, she was going through some stuff and she needed like a cathartic experience. So we decided, you know, let's wake up at 2 a.m. Let's go hike this mountain just down the road from us. We hiked for about like 2.5 hours up, and let's watch the sunrise. We'll pack a lunch, we'll listen to some music, pack our coffee, and we'll, you know, wake up and watch the sunrise, and then we'll go from like dark to light. And it was all about this cathartic, like, new beginnings. And the whole time we were like, we went to high school together, and we talked about like all the crappy things we went through and all the amazing things we went through, and where we thought we'd be at that point and where we are actually now. And it was amazing. And I came home that day, and like the song just came out, and I got a phone call like a couple weeks later from my friend saying, hey, did you have the song for the games? And I'm like, oh, you know, I'm really working on it. And like, I have nothing. And I started panicking a bit, and I went back to the song that I'd written. I was like, oh my God, I wrote it, not even realizing that I had written it. And it was perfect because I didn't grow up doing like a lot of like team sports or like school sports, just because I was so heavy involved in dance and then switched to music, and I was more an artistic kid. I didn't feel like I could actually connect to like these kids that were training to be Olympic skiers or like Olympic basketball players, or, you know, like all of these amazing athletic kids. I felt so distant from them, and I didn't know if I could actually write something that was like, rah, 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 you can do sports. Because I was like, rah, 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 if you want to shave your head and put on makeup, like, yeah, queen, do it. So I was like, how am I going to write this? And so when I realized that I'd written this song about my moments in the mountains, and because BC obviously is like famously known for our like incredible terrain and mountains and stuff, I was like, oh, it's not about the sport. It's about our moments that we get to share together, and like how so many kids spend their whole childhood for this moment to like come and represent their city and represent their sport and represent their families. And it's this like amazing moment that they get to come and be proud of, and they get to enjoy, and they get to meet friends and have these memories that last forever and mold them into who they be. And so the song ended up being better with the idea that it was actually written about a personal experience versus like focusing on what they wanted. And I think that's kind of why they loved it so much, was because it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like an anthem. It actually felt like a song that those kids would want to listen to.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That must have been crazy though, to be that young and get that phone call saying, hey, we're going to use your song for the BC Winter Games.
Oh yeah. No. And like, honestly, the biggest show I've ever played to this day is still that one, like 5,000 kids at a stadium. I can actually say that one of my first shows ever was a stadium show. Like, that's crazy. Like, nobody gets to say that.
Yeah.
I'm so lucky. Like, my heart still races when I think about standing and walking out on that stage and seeing like the 5,000 kids with like their lights up, and they had already heard the song because it had been out for a couple months, and everybody got like a download link a couple days before. So all the kids had it on their phones, and they were listening to it during the games throughout the week, and it was like the opening and closing ceremonies, and all the kids were singing along to it. And then like, you know, you come off stage and you're 18 and you're like, holy shit, like this is amazing. And then all these kids rush up to you and they're like, can I get a photo with you? And I'm like, do you know who I am? Like, I don't think you want that. But yeah, like I just think that like it was enough to give me the taste to be like, oh, the end goal is gotta be stadium. Like this feels so amazing. It like brought me to tears. It felt so amazing.
Wow. Yeah. I can't even imagine walking out there and playing to that crowd and even the environment of where you're playing at, like with it being like this big sporting event, like that must have added to the feel.
The hype.
The hype, if you will. Very cool.
Yeah.
So you did that song.
Amazing.
And and then from what was next for you after you did that big BBC, the big Winter Games?
I did just a little song. It was called Cant Touch, and I was so into it. And what was great about that song is I got to do it with an amazing producer in Vancouver as well. But it was so expensive, and the games offered to pay for it because they wanted such like a high quality song. And I was like, there's no way I can afford this on my own. But I loved the idea of putting out more music and like people knowing my stuff and actually like really giving this musician thing a stab. So I got into looking at like beat leasers and kind of top lining over there. And that's kind of looking back at like my Nashville stuff. I was like, oh, you know, I love this beat, like this top lining thing. And I love when producers send tracks. And I was like, if I just lease this track for like $300, I can write whatever the heck I want on it. And so I actually wrote it, and my dad engineered it, and we put it together, just these vocals, and it ended up being like a fun little ditty. And my local radio station still plays it to this day. I'll be in like a tanning bed, and they'll play like the radio, and I'll like scream. I'll be like, I hate this song. And like the front desk girl will come running back. She's like, Madison, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I just hate this song. And she's like, isn't that you? And I'm like, yeah.
That's Cant Touch.
Like, I like it. Yeah, Cant Touch.
That's awesome that they still play it. It still gets spins on the radio.
Oh yeah, they play all of it. Like they are just, and I think it has to do with like when I first started playing music, Kamloops wasn't like a super artistic community, but then my parents got on like the Arts Council and the Arts Commission, and they opened up like a speakeasy in their basement to have artists come through every month. They'd like house them, they'd give them food, they'd have like people come from all over the town to come and watch these shows. And then they ended up doing like huge like art in the park things and like big festivals. The Buskers Festival my dad hosted, I think 2 years in a row, and they just got like so involved because they saw how limited the arts were when I started. They're like, just, you know, regular supportive parents, I want to make this better for my kid and whoever else is struggling with it. And so now like they're just, I would say Kamloops is the best city to start out as a musician now, because I've had so many people support, so many people buy my music, buy my merchandise, come out to my shows. Like I've never played like an empty audience in Kamloops now because of it. They're just like the most amazing. And it's not just me, like it's every other musician that's here. And so when I put out a song, the radio stations are the first to play it. They're the first to call me, the first to interview me. And I'm so lucky.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
So this new song that you have out, Best Part of Me, that they're playing that on the radio and stuff.
Oh yeah. I think they played it twice today.
Wow.
I get a call from my grandma. She's like, "Oh, they played it again."
That's awesome.
Yeah,
tell me
it
about
is.
this new song. Like, how did you get hooked up with like Raby? Like, did you have a record label when you put out Blue?
No, so I'm still like 100% independent. I recently signed with a manager back kind of early 2020, and he listened to my stuff that's starting with Best Part of Me and the stuff coming out now this year. And there was something where he just listened and he's like, I originally reached out saying, "Hey, can I pay you for some release strategy plans? I'm kind of tired of figuring this out on my own. I just need a little bit of help and I'd love to like just kind of contract you." And he's like, "No, like I love your music and I don't want you to pay me for this. Like I want to manage you. Do you have a manager? I want to manage you." And so he reached out to Raby because I think he had a friend with them maybe, and he sent their music and they're like, "Oh my God, she's awesome." Like we want to support her too, which is great because as a musician, you want somebody who wants to support you and doesn't see you as like a potential dollar sign or something like that. Like they actually are like, "This music is great and I think we can go somewhere with this as a team." And so that's kind of how it happened. They heard this new stuff and they saw a lot of potential with it. And I feel like I'm finally starting to develop like a family, because it isn't just me. Like I tried to explain this to a friend who's not in music. I was like, it's no longer like Madison Olds me. It's like Madison Olds, the incorporated business. And like, I'm a employee of it. And so is everybody else. Like we're all equals and we all figure this out together and we're all having like an equal say. And so I'm not playing for a solo person now. Like I'm playing for the team. And I just, like I can't believe how amazing this release has been just because all the added people have come on board.
That's amazing. That's really amazing.
Yeah.
It
helps that like the song is cool.
Right. Yeah. Tell me more about the song. What's it about?
So, like, the best way I can put it, the song is about being comfortable in your discomfort. And it kind of came out of, I was having a really bad day in Nashville. I needed to go to this right. There was a really bad rainstorm. I was in a super sketchy Airbnb, and the Ubers went up to like $400 to go to this guy's house. It was an hour out of town. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot afford this for it to end up potentially being a really bad song or, like a really bad vibe or whatever. And so I was like, hey, I'm going to have to reschedule because there's a really bad rainstorm and the Uber prices have gone up just because of the storm. Do you mind if like we push it for another day? And I just kind of left it thinking maybe it was a sign, maybe I shouldn't go in. And this was like the first trip I had gone to Nashville by myself, and I was just super high anxiety, really stressed out. I had to switch from like a bunch of different Ubers because there were so many problems. Like my last one, I put some like 2 tablespoons of like tomato soup down the sink because I was like rinsing out my bowl, and the whole sink flooded when I started the dishwasher. So I'm like laying on the floor, calling my mom, having a panic attack, like, what do I do? I'm not adulty enough for this. Like that was me the whole trip. And so by the time I got a phone call from Oscar, who was at the house, he was like, hey, like I have an opening this morning. Do you want to come? I like looked, the Uber was like $45. It's like, oh, way better. He invited his friend Callie. We all met, and like, I was just so high anxiety that I just went in a freaking mess, just a ball. And I was like, real talk, guys, like, I'm just like, feels so good to be suicidal right now. Like, I really just want to lay on the floor. And that's kind of how the song came about. And I think it was something that they could relate to as well as musicians. Like, I think there's a lot of self-doubt in this industry and a lot of just worry or high anxiety. And they were like, yeah, I can get on board with this. Like, I can mess with this idea and pull from some things. And it happened so quickly. Like, I think we wrote it in about like an hour and a half. And,
oh, wow.
it felt so authentic. Like we just started with a guitar and did a little demo. And then when I took it to the producer, he and I kind of rearranged the pre-chorus just a little bit, but yeah, it just felt so good. It felt like it was meant to happen. It was that cathartic song that I didn't want to talk about my mental health because it feels like everybody's got something going on, which is true. And it's not so special anymore for me to be like, oh my God, like I've got anxiety. It's like, yeah, okay, get in line. Everybody's got it. So I was just like, oh, like, I don't want to talk about it because, you know, I'm just going to be another person who has anxiety. Like, it's just a thing. So if I write a song about it, then it's me sharing that, yeah, I struggle with things, but it's not my brand. It's not about who I am, but it was a way of people just getting to know me a little bit better.
Nice. Yeah. And what about, like, do you have any other songs that are ready to come out? Like, are you going to put a record out?
Oh, yeah. And they're not about anxiety. They're so fun. I feel like I needed to get this, like, sad, soapy one out of the way to be like, hey, guys, like, I've got feelings. Like, be nice for the next one. But, no, they're so fun. They're, like, really sassy. They really play up to the Madison Olds that I love to be, which is, like, just totally wild, totally crazy, zero filter, like, just party every room I walk into. And I think that these next few songs really embody that. And I am so excited to release them because I wrote them a year ago now. So I'm jittery every day, every week. I'm closer to a release date. I just get so excited.
Yeah. Is it, are you cool with releasing it during quarantine?
Yeah. You know what? I think a lot of people kind of changed their release plan just because, you know, quarantine happened and then everybody's focus was about, you know, BLM and like obviously all of our social media needed to be around there to support it and to show that everybody had an ally. Mm-hmm. But I also think that, you know, amongst our support, we also need some like entertainment. People need to still see, like, you can listen to something while you support, you can put something out while you support. And this only shows that you're supporting more. So like this song that comes out is going to be like, hey, I remember when that song came out for BLM and yeah, she fought the good fight. It was like, you know, I remember like going to Riot and listening to the song or stuff like that. And so I think just because, you know, everything's changing, music still goes on and people still need a new tune. I can't listen to the same freaking, you know, Harry Styles album all summer. I
Sure.
hope more artists put out music. So I think just because you can't do live shows or social media focus is elsewhere, I think music definitely still goes on and it's just going to change and get better just with the way that we're talking.
Yeah. Have you been going live on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, playing your songs?
I did one concert, and back to like the Canadian thing about grant funding, they actually had in our province specifically a great opportunity where they were paying artists to go live. So
really? Wow.
Because obviously all live shows have been completely brought to a halt. I think they're just starting up again, but you obviously have to wear masks and you're only allowed like probably 50% occupancy or whatever.
Yeah, and everyone's got to be all spread out. And I've seen like some stuff online. It doesn't look very, very entertaining.
It's not a concert.
Yeah.
Like, nobody wants to rock out with a mask on 5 feet away from
everybody else. Yeah, I know. It's weird.
Yeah. But so at the beginning, in efforts to kind of help support the arts, which they really care about in BC especially, they started saying like, hey, apply for this, you know, we'll give you a grant to do a 30-minute live show. And you can pick whatever platform you want. You can play whatever you want. It could be like super high quality. It could be just you and your phone. And so I actually only did the one show because at the beginning I was like really gung-ho. I was like, yeah, I'll do live shows. And then everybody I knew did a live show and they were doing it like once a week. Mm-hmm. We're probably still going now. And I was like, I'm just going to be a 1 in a million. Like, I'll get like 2 people showing up to my live because I'll be at like Justin Bieber's live show or whatever. And I just was like, there's so many other artists that can probably do a better live show. And I mean, I'm not technically really well, like I can't set up a microphone and set up lights like it's like an iPhone thing.
Sure.
So I was like, yeah, they don't want to see that.
That's funny.
Lots of writing still, and I'm lucky that my dad plays music and came home to be with him and my mom during quarantine, and so we get to play stuff together or record or write or whatever, the fun stuff.
That's cool. That's nice.
Yeah, no, it's good. We've been just hanging out, and it's been nice actually during COVID to kind of step back and really enjoy creating content again. And I've had a lot of free time on my hands. So for Best Part of Me, I was actually able to do like a lot of videos leading up and kind of be a bit more creative about it versus other releases in the past where I would have like 2 shows a week that I would be preparing for or other things. So it was actually really nice to have this time to just be an artist, not like a worker, like be an artist.
Yeah, you found creative ways to promote the single, because instead of like being focused on auditioning, or not auditioning but rehearsing for a show or a tour or whatever, when nobody was doing anything, so you had to kind of
I think I picked up
focus on it.
Yeah, right. And during this time it was like just the creative side of things. Like I picked up gardening and pottery and like actually really enjoying preparing for my music, because normally it's like before I had a manager, my mom would be like, you need to post it on Instagram. And I'm like, oh, like I don't want to. And now it's like, I have so much time on my hands that my whole camera roll is just like stupid selfies of stupid things that I'm almost embarrassed to say, but it's like, oh, this lighting looks so good. And I have time to take 400 selfies and pick the right one or, whatever. But like, I feel like my social media game has become fire because of COVID. And like, I've picked up TikTok, which is ridiculous, but I spend way too much time for a 22-year-old on TikTok.
I was watching some of your TikTok video. I have a 12-year-old son and a 4-year-old, and the 12-year-old's like all over TikTok. And I was watching yours. Yeah, they're pretty good. Do you like doing them? It seems like I haven't got into it yet. It seems like a lot of work to make one.
You know what? I thought that at the beginning, and my mom was actually kind of on TikTok before I was, and she's like, oh, you'll totally love it, and it's another platform. And I was like, great, another platform to be pestered about not posting on or whatever. And I just, it's so fun. You can kind of just post whatever you want. And what's great about it too is like, you don't really need a strategy, or like you can have consistency, and like some people stick with a theme, but anything will pop off if it's the right video. And like, people don't care if your like feed is all gray scheme or like, surfer girl or whatever. They're like, oh, sure, she looks glam in this one and she looks like a total homeless bum in this one, and they're both funny. So I just figured it was a great opportunity. And at first I wasn't like really playing any music on it. It was all about like humor. And I was like, this is just my platform to have fun. I'm not using this as a tool. It's just to like have a release. And it ended up like doing way better than any of my other social media platforms. And I was like, damn it, it's a business tool now. So, I actually love it.
Yeah. You said, I saw that you wrote in your bio that you secretly wanted to be a comedian. Do you feel like that's an outlet for that?
Oh yeah. It's so funny because I'm like one of those extroverted introverts. So over the phone, I'm great because nobody sees me and I can just like let loose. But if I'm in like a real situation or like a party where I don't know people, like my tendency is to like retract, maybe put on a hoodie, hang out in a corner by myself, not talk to people. But as soon as I've got like a couple drinks, like I'm cracking jokes all night. I will have like my family on the floor rolling. I will have myself on the floor rolling because I'm like, where the heck did that come from? And then like the next morning I'm not funny again. But I honestly would love to do like a segment or like my own comedy podcast, but I would need to like have the live audience to do it in front of, because I would hate to do like a live joke and then it be dead silent because it's just me in my room with a microphone and then put it out and people like, this was yikes.
Can't read the room.
Yeah, right. But no, I would love to do it. I think, when obviously COVID lets up and people start going out again, I think it'd be really cool to do like a live show and then have like the intermission be like a 15-minute stand-up by me, my own show. People be like, what the heck is happening? But yeah.
Yeah, instead of an encore, just come back out and do some jokes.
Yeah, right. They're like, this is not what we asked for. Yeah. But no, I love to make people laugh and I love to make people feel good. And that's obviously why, like, I love to play music and see people smiling or singing along. And, like, it's all about the experience for them. You know, it's not about me. It's about how they feel after my show. And I love to play, like, really fun, happy music. And I just want it to be a party. Life is too short for somebody to feel sad or to feel broody. And I just want people to come out and forget about the sad things or forget about the bill that they forgot to pay or the stress or the anxiety. Like, come to the show and be happy and leave happy. Like, that's all I care about.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Madison. This has been so good.
No, thank you.
I have one more question. I want to know if you have advice for aspiring artists.
Oh, I love this question. I wish starting out that I wouldn't have been afraid or like self-conscious or embarrassed to play or to say things or to go somewhere or to ask somebody something. I was really hesitant, and looking back, I wish I just had the lady balls that my mom has and just been like, hey, this is me and this is what I want. Like, just ask for it. I think being afraid is the like worst hang up for a musician, and to just like throw caution to the wind and just ask. Like, go to Justin Bieber and be like, hey, I'm going to open for you. Like, I think that would shock him the most if this nobody artist like knocked on his door and was like, hey, I want to open for you. It would probably happen because of it. So I think just, don't be afraid.
Bringing it backwards.